On the podcast today, we have Girlish Figure, an LA-based musician known for their nostalgic guitar pop and 80s-inspired sapphic ballads. We discuss their 2024 album, Sertraline Dreams, what it's like to be a sensitive Scorpio, and how to survive with your Venus and Gemini. Enjoy! Pluto in the first house or on the rising, being the sign of a loner. And that... I'm here...
I felt my tear ducts activate at the moment you said that. If anything happened at 22, I would have burnt out. I would have had a panic attack. I would have moved home. Like, Scorpios are hot. Like, I don't care. Like, I will fully ascribe to that. I literally did it and I was like, you're gonna die right now. You're gonna die. Like, that was such an Aries-Moon decision. And I was like, this was so unnecessary. I feel like one day my Aries-Moon will off me. So please give me tips on how I can mitigate that.
So we're back, guys. I'm so excited to introduce our next guest, Annalise Nelson, here with us.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, we're so excited to have you. I was so grateful when Annie, who was on actually our second season, at the very end of the season, we did kind of like a tarot recap of what's going on.
Yes.
And she's amazing.
Oh gosh, she's incredible.
Have you done tarot with her?
Yes, many times. I've never walked, I always get what is it, like a Rolling Stones song. I walk out of there never getting what I want, but what I need. So It's like you walk, be like, oh man, I don't feel good. But
right.
I'm like, yeah.
But you get clarity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like she's really good at that. I've had a couple readings with her myself, and I've gotten some very interesting just things to note. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of similar with astrology. I think that with astrology, you don't always maybe get what you're assuming, or like you don't always know what's going to come out of it. But I feel like whatever you learn about your chart, you just learn so much about yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like so powerful. So I'm really excited to dig deep into your chart.
I'm excited. I'm a little nervous.
I'm
more because let's be real. Like, I was saying this before we started recording, like as a queer musician, like there is nothing, like as a Leo, like, oh no, I get to like come on a podcast and talk about my own music and my own astrological chart. Oh no.
Yeah.
This is like a dream. So even if like deep stuff comes up, I'm like, let's go, let's do it.
Well, and I'm curious, speaking of the Leo, because you are a Leo sun, you are an Aries moon, which are both, fiery, passionate, out there, not afraid to be in the spotlight at all.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting. But I'm curious how you feel with your Scorpio rising.
Yeah.
Because that, I know you know some stuff about astrology and you've looked at your chart before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know some stuff. But I mean, Scorpio rising is pretty private. So how do you feel how do you work with those two energies,
Whew. Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? I think for a lot of times I think there's like a push and pull with a lot of my performances. It's like there's a part of me that wants to be out there all the time, doing the thing, being bombastic, and then there's this other side of me that's like, don't be crazy. Like there used to be this meme of is it Rihanna? It was like, this is like a long time ago. This is like, I'm digging deep into maybe 2012.
Oh wow.
Where it was like Rihanna at like a freaking like a Lakers game or something, and she's like holding some. It was like people used it for like astrological memes of like one person holding back another, and it was always like, it was literally Scorpio moon. I did like Scorpio rising holding back the Aries moon.
Yes,
because it's always like that part of me that's like wanting to like be like out and center or say the thing or do the thing, but the Scorpio is like don't make waves, like don't make people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because Scorpio is also very sensitive. Like, I'm very aware of what's happening around me all the time. So it's
people's energy.
Yeah. So it's not just my energy. It's like I'm also picking up on everybody else, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm constantly thinking I'm making people uncomfortable. And so because of that, it's sometimes at war with the performer, because because to be a good performer, you can't worry about that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I want to create a space where people feel welcome and safe. I don't want to make people uncomfortable, but you also have to have the freedom to just be yourself.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I do feel like with that Scorpio rising, and it's interesting because you do have Pluto right on the ascendant there. So right where that rising is, you have Pluto right next to it. So that gives that extra oomph of scorpionic energy, not only because it's in Scorpio, but because Pluto rules Scorpio. So it's like...
So it's like the most Scorpio rising that Scorpio could rise.
It's like an extra boost of Scorpio energy.
Great.
But you know, that also gives so much power, because here's the thing. I feel like Scorpios are so powerful. They have this deep intensity that is just beautiful. And I think with the Leo energy, it's almost like being able to light that up a little bit, like showing the deep intensity and everything you feel and being able to present that a little bit more to the world.
Yeah.
Which makes a good performer, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I think once I'm on stage, which is a great avenue for that, I feel very comfortable, especially like I spent about 8 years not performing. And then I recently started performing again this year, and I felt so at ease. And I don't know if it was just because I was on SSRIs for the first time or what.
Yeah.
But I felt so free. I felt so natural. It's actually being in the world and just having to interact, because there is kind of a performative nature of just living and like what masks we're wearing and what we're doing and how we're interacting. That's a lot harder for me, and knowing how to maneuver through all of that. And that's the Scorpio, that's where it's in full force of protecting. And honestly, like, I've had more than one person in my life tell me, oh, when I first met you, I thought you didn't like me. And which is funny to me, because both of them were in working situations. So I was just working. I was just in my
Well, I was
head.
going to say, maybe you were in work mode.
Yeah, I'm in work mode, but I'm usually just in my head.
Oh,
so,
right.
But even like when I meet people, I am so in my head, and I'm thinking, like, what am I doing with my hands? Do my hands always do this? Like, if I put, oh my gosh, I'm moving my hands too much. I hope they don't notice that I'm moving my hands too much. Am I mirroring their bodily behavior too much?
Am I open? Am I?
It becomes like, again, it's like at war with just like being myself and like hiding myself, and it's like a lot.
It's so interesting that you're talking about that, because number one, I think with Leo energy, like, I'm a Leo rising, so I get you. And to me, you're like the friendliest person. So like, it's hard for me to imagine that people would like, I don't know, see you as like not friendly, because you just came and were super friendly and super talkative. So like, to me, it's hard to see how people could.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know, because then I can use that as fuel when I go back to those friends and be like, see, I was very outgoing. I'll have you know.
No, you were very like fun and like Leo and all that stuff. But it's interesting talking about the anxiety, because I think with Leo energy, you know, the problem with Leo, and I have it in my rising and my south node, which we'll get to your south node and everything. But when you have the Leo energy, it's like you are self-conscious about how you are coming across to the world. So it's like you want, like, you know, and I have gone through so much of that myself, so I really get it. Like, you want to be presentable, you want to be friendly, you want to be nice. You're thinking of how are people taking in your energy. And then when you've got all that Scorpio, you know, it's interesting. My astrologer, he always talks about Pluto in the first house or on the rising being the sign of a loner. And that I'm curious. And I'm just curious. And that's the thing. You are working with a lot of different energies, as we all are.
I felt my tear ducts activate at the moment you said that.
And that's the thing. I think when he said that to people, it's not like the kind of thing that's it's not bad.
No.
But it is real. And it's, I think, Scorpio energy, what we always talk about is that Scorpio energy is so vulnerable. That's the thing. It's so deeply vulnerable to the point where I think that's why people think sometimes that Scorpios aren't friendly, is because they don't want to show what's truly going on, and they only will show it to people they trust, you know. But with the Leo energy, you're going through a little bit of a it's like that battle between yourself of like, you know, wanting to be out there and creative and put yourself out there. But then the Scorpio being very like, oh God.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Leo and Scorpio often feel kind of like a sun and moon, kind of like alternate, kind of like a light and dark kind of.
It is. It very
balance.
much is. Because, yeah, I mean, the sun rules Leo, you know, and Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, but it is it's a night energy. It's a darker energy. So to have that in such prominent places in your chart is super interesting, but it can be challenging. And, you know, it's Scorpio, but it's very dynamic too. Like we're always talking about, like my boyfriend, Max, he's a Scorpio rising. I'm a Leo rising. And in astrology, it's like this like dynamic like connection between that two, because one is super outgoing and like very like chatty and like talking to everyone, and the other person's a little bit more reserved but also has this like dynamic power and chemistry and whatever. So it is interesting in a relationship chart looking at that, but for your own personal natal chart, it's super fascinating talking about the differences between those two.
Yeah, because it's like you were saying, like there is a sense of like, you know, not feel like there is so much happening with Leo and there's so much happening with Scorpio in a different sense, and I don't feel like there's ever like I don't have a dimmer, you know? It's an on or an off switch. So it's like in terms of emotion, it's kind of all or nothing. Like I don't know how to, like even earlier we were talking about pretty deep stuff. Like it's very hard for me to not go to the deep very quickly. And I think that's probably why when I meet people for the first time, I don't know how to interact on the surface. And I struggle with having friendships that are kind of on the surface because like if I can't share things with you that are deep and have you respond in kind, I don't know what we're doing.
You don't know how to, yeah.
So that's where I kind of keep, you know, to myself a little bit until I know whether or not that's something that I can trust.
But I love that. I honestly love Scorpio energy because I have a lot of Scorpio energy in my chart, but I love Scorpio energy because it's so real. It is not BS. And like what you were saying, like if I can't be real with you, I don't know what kind of friendship we can have.
Yeah.
And so I really admire that. And I think it's a beautiful quality. So I hope you don't feel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I also think it's why it scares people sometimes too. Because I think we hide behind a lot of BS.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like it's scary. We wear a lot of masks and like I wear a lot of masks to get through my day. We all do. But I think it's like, and that's why I'd rather have a smaller circle of people than have a big circle of a bunch of like, oh my gosh, I almost said phonies, like Holden fucking Caulfield. That's so stupid. I can't believe I almost said that. But you know what I mean? It's like I would rather have a small, close-knit circle of people who like can hold me and I can hold them than, you know, anything else. It's, you know, I don't know. It's just, it's hard, but it's worth it.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you know those friendships are real and true because you guys are honest with each other. There's no BS. It's just like transparent. So I admire you for working with that so beautifully. I think a lot of Scorpio rising people are just so afraid to put themselves out there in any kind of way. So it's nice to see that you have all that fire energy so that so that you don't feel like you have to just kind of like haul up, you know, just be in a box and not show yourself to the world, because that Scorpio energy is super powerful and super beautiful and very like cathartic.
Well, and that might be why I feel like my music career has been more of a slow burn. Like, it's like, I'm not 22, I'm 37. I'm okay with that. I'm proud of it. But it's like, I kind of needed to kind of warm up into being myself to kind of let it burn a little brighter.
And you can hear that through the album, Sertraline Dreams. You can hear the experience. Because like you're saying, like this was an album that was from 2024. So you were, when did you write this? Probably.
I wrote it in 2023, at the end of 2023.
Okay. Got it. So you were like in your early.
I wrote it when I was 35.
35. Okay. Yeah. Got it. So that's the thing. It's like you've had so much experience of different situations, different relationships. And that makes an incredible album because it's not just shallow. Like you're saying, it's not one note. It's like when I was listening to it, there was just so many different parts of it where I was like, I can relate to that. I understand that. That makes so much sense. Like you can hear the pain, you can hear the hope, You can hear so much in this album. And so I commend you for, and I get it because I'm kind of a slow burn type of person too, where like, yeah, my career is like, I'm 35, you know, and I'm not where I want to be yet. But like, I feel like good things take time. And so what you're doing is like a slow burn. And I think in a way that's almost more powerful than like someone that just kind of instantly gets that success like at 22.
If anything happened at 22, I would have burnt out. I would have had a panic attack. I would have moved home.
Yeah.
I like at this point, like honestly, like leaning into being a little more Scorpio rising, like I kind of just want to be like Kate Bush and like be successful enough to like make money on music and then like live in a castle somewhere and come out and perform sometimes and have a good time, but then like go write music in a castle.
That's the dream.
That's the dream. I don't need a lot of attention. I don't need to like, God, the day I can delete TikTok from my phone. Let's do it. Let's go.
I really feel you so much because social media is it's just such a hard thing that we all have to do.
And it's a literal
necessary evil.
A literal addiction for me. It's literally an addiction.
I understand. And probably with the Leo and, you know, again, I have my own Leo energy, but I think when you've got that Leo energy, it's like you do want to put yourself out there and you don't know what kind of opportunities could come from it too. So being a musician or, you know, doing this podcast, it's like we do want to put ourselves out there, but it's exhausting. And it's like having to wear that mask, like you're saying. And it's interesting because like the rising is known as the mask. It's like known as like how you present yourself to the world and how people see you. But then of course there's all this other stuff going on. So it's like only skin
It's only a little
deep.
bit.
It's only a little bit. Like,
it's like, just, okay, don't just judge me because I just wear black. Like, yes, I love to wear all black.
I love your Scorpio rising outfit today.
I do. Like I wear mostly black. In that sense, I am a cliche. But like whatever. Like Scorpios are hot. Like I don't care. Like I will fully ascribe to that cliche. Like that is true.
It is true. But it has like that Leo flair to it too. I think like you've got that, you know, fun Leo kind of like flair with it. So it brings,
thank you.
Brings it out a little bit.
Thank you.
But I am excited to talk about the album because when you were talking about like anxiety and the fear you go through sometimes just in your day-to-day life. Yes, what came up for me was the Leo energy because I think as Leo people, it's like you do have a little bit of like wanting to present yourself a certain way and then going through that like deep scorpionic thing of like, do I want to like be vulnerable? But then it's really interesting to me because so you have a moon in Aries, which is really fun. It's again,
that's the first time anyone has ever described it that way. So thank you.
Well, because I feel like work with it beautifully in terms of, I know I don't know you that well, but in terms of just combining the water, combining the fire. Believe me, not to hate on Aries, but there have been some Aries energies that I have come across where it has been very challenging. It's very confronting. They are very in your face. They have no type of like sensitivity.
Yeah. But also I feel like Aries moons, and maybe this is just me projecting on all Aries moons.
Yeah.
It feels like a more self-destructive energy than anything else. Like where you would have seen my Aries moon was when I already saw the text saying, hey, it's fine that you're late. I wanted to make up the 2 minutes. I did the most stupid, boneheaded U-turn.
Oh, because you felt bad about being...
Yeah, I was like, no, I want to make up the time. And I was like, I literally did it. And I was like, you're going to die right now. You're going to die. Like that was such an Aries moon decision. And I was like, this was so unnecessary.
Yeah.
Just like drive the 3 blocks and take the turn. Follow the Google Maps.
Right.
So I appreciate that, but also full transparency. Like
it can be self-destructive sometimes.
Yes,
you feel like?
hugely. I feel like one day my Aries moon will off me. So please give me tips on how I can mitigate that or how I can lean into other parts of my chart that will save my life.
Right.
Please.
Right. And you're right. I mean, what you were talking about, but see, and this is what I'm excited to talk about because yes, you've got that Aries moon, which is, it's strong, it's bold, it goes for things, it takes action. It actually feels comfort in taking action. And when you can't take action on something or someone or like moving forward with something, it actually feels like the moon is all about your comfort zone. It's all about your moods, emotions, what makes you feel comfortable. So having an Aries moon is like, okay, I literally feel uncomfortable because I'm not moving on something. I need to move. Like I'm impatient, you know, and that's like kind of a rude way to say it, but sometimes.
Nope, that's it.
You know?
Yep, that's it.
But what's really fascinating to me, and what my whole point is of saying this, is that you've got this Aries moon in the 6th house.
Okay.
Which is the house of Virgo.
Okay.
Which I know the houses bring in a whole new thing. But the point is that the 6th house is the Virgo house, meaning that it's ruled by Virgo. So you have, it's almost like Virgo is the landlord and your moon in Aries is like the tenant. So you have this overarching Virgonian energy. So what you were talking about just now, you were anxious because you felt really bad being late. And through that anxiety, maybe you did something that was a little bit dangerous, which you were fine. You were okay. You're here with us.
Yep.
But I think the anxiety you're talking about, yes, some of it's the Leo, some of it's the Scorpio, all this stuff. But this you have this theme of this Virgo energy underlying these other planets. And so having the moon in the 6th house means that, yes, you are an Aries moon, but you also have Virgo energy in the way the moon communicates.
See, I was wondering because I looked at my chart and I was like, I feel like my anxiety feels Virgonian.
Exactly.
In a way, because I feel like I need to organize. Like cleaning my house brings me so much joy and peace. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm the one that organizes people and I'm like everything. And so the structure.
Yes.
Oh my God, structure. So the fact that I'd look at my chart and like the only thing I saw on paper was South Node, I was like, okay, that's interesting.
That's interesting. And that's why for me, I have to look at the wheel. Yeah. I have to see what house things are in because it just says everything.
Yeah.
It says everything. Your moon in Aries is just like in the 6th house is like Virgo. And the fact that you do have that South Node in Virgo, man, when I was listening to this album, I started kind of hearing different things and I'm like, oh my God, there's that Virgo coming. Like, oh my, and there's so much.
You said we would pick these up when the tea came out. I feel like the tea is happening.
Yes, the tea is happening.
The tea is happening.
Also, it's hot. So let's have a fan break for a second here. Hi, guys. I just wanted to take a pause outside of the episode to give everyone a little bit of a break from what we're talking about. I know that all this information is a lot to absorb, but I hope you're enjoying it. And if you would like to learn more about astrology or any other information with it, you can go to my website, LiliRoseAstrology.com. Enjoy the episode. So, I mean, again, I loved all of the album. I thought it was so great.
You so much.
I really did. I really enjoyed it. Now, first of all, let's talk about the title.
Yes.
Sertraline Dreams. Obviously, that is something that's like for anxiety or antidepressant, stuff like that. Do you feel like, did you name your album that because that is a big part of kind of working through the world right now? That is something you're connecting to? Is that something that is shaping your life at this moment? Has it for a long time?
Yeah. So for most of my life, I was kind of bare knuckling my anxiety and my OCD. Mm-hmm. And thinking that I just could get through it with therapy and nothing was really working. And then finally in my mid-30s was like, you know what, I think I have to go, I have to go to a psychiatrist and have a conversation with them. And she prescribed me sertraline and it saved my life and totally changed the way I see the world. And so two things happened. One thing that happened was I started getting the weirdest dreams.
Really?
Because when you start taking SSRIs, you start having very vivid dreams. Like one dream I had, I was having a slumber party with Taylor Swift. And I want to be clear, nothing untoward was happening at this slumber party, but she was farting a lot.
Wow.
And like I remember smelling it, and it was such a detail, like the detail of that dream, like being able to smell Taylor Swift's putrid farts. Like these dreams were insane.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Insane. I remember being like, she's so rich, but I guess everybody farts.
That was what you came from the dream.
Yeah, I was like, because everybody does. Like,
everyone does.
Work queen, everyone. I have IBS too. But I like that experience and like having, like, because I never used to remember my dreams, like having that new experience. But also I used to have this fear that like, if I don't have anxiety, like where am I going to write from? I wrote that whole album on Sertraline.
SSR. Yeah.
And it was like kind of my moment of pride, being like,
wow,
this is kind of like a tribute to, like, it's kind of like, yes, it's a nod to Sertraline Dreams, like the weird dreams I was having, but like Sertraline like is kind of like the thing of my dreams. Like it's kind of like made my dreams of, I mean, you know, I'm not cured. Like I still have anxiety, but I finally was like, oh wait, people can just live. Like they don't
have to have,
their day isn't ruined by one intrusive thought. This is amazing.
Oh my God. And that's really amazing to hear, because I feel like I have anxiety in different ways too. Not necessarily OCD, but I've done some OCD things. You know, check your car multiple times, make sure it's locked, you know, make sure the light's off.
Well, that's the thing, is that's the misconception, is that most people think that's what OCD is, but OCD is actually completely different. OCD is actually usually is when you have a form of an intrusive thought. You have a theme. So for some people, it could be you're obsessed with, like, you have the thought of, like, you're driving and you're like, what if I just threw my car into park right now? And most people would be like, that's crazy.
I'm not going to do that.
I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Someone who suffers from OCD would then think, oh God, what if I did do that? What if I'm the kind of person who could do that? And then think of all the people that they would harm by doing that.
Right.
That is, and then they might even have the urge to do it. Like they won't necessarily do it, but then they'll start having the urge to do it, and then they'll think, see, I'm having the urge to, it's like this kind of snowballing thought.
You know, that actually is really interesting. Well, first of all, astrologically speaking, that makes a lot of sense. You've got Mercury in Leo, which is the planet of the mind. That's what rules the mind. And you have it squaring. And a square is essentially like a challenging aspect between two planets.
I was going to be like, isn't that like the fuck you placement? Like,
it's like just
like, I don't want to be here.
It's like a challenge. It's tension.
Okay.
It's like they're two planets are in two signs that are both fixed. So like Leo is fixed, Scorpio is fixed.
Right.
So they are the same modality, but they're different elements. So it's like a different way of working with it, but almost like a similar like pattern. But when you have Mercury squaring Pluto, it can be very, it can show up as intrusive thoughts or obsessive thoughts.
Awesome.
Yeah. But what was interesting, I relate to what you're talking about. And really, I love that you're talking so openly about SSRIs, OCD, all this stuff, because I think people can relate in different ways to that. And there's a lot of misconceptions about what these kind of prescription drugs do. How they work. And it's interesting because I've been really had a lot of anxiety about driving up mountainous roads, like high mountainous roads. And I have thoughts kind of like what you're talking about, almost like, well, what if my car just went off the road? And what if I was driving and someone else was in the car with me? Oh my God. And so it's gone to a point where like, oh my God, like I don't feel like I can drive these mountainous, high up, curvy roads because I'm scared. What if I go off? And it's like that, like you talking about that reminded me of something that I've experienced. And I've definitely talked to my therapist. Like I'm not on any SSRIs because, again, I think there isn't really enough information out in the world about how they work. And I've always been like, I don't know if I want to get into that world because what if it just totally fucks up my mind?
But also it's not this, like I'm gonna say this right now. I'm talking about it positively for me. It may not work for you or anybody listening right now. But I'm not carte blanche saying just go out there and take all the drugs. Like you have to talk to a professional and have them assess what you're going through, and also like please read up more about OCD. Like I'm saying one example of that, and also the intrusive thoughts are something that then you protect by you do rituals, and some of the rituals are like, all right, well if I touch my car 10 times, then I won't crash, then I'll be fine. You know, and they can also be rumination, like if I think about this enough times, then it won't happen. You know, things like that.
And that makes a lot of sense. But I think just getting a different perspective, because I think a lot of people talk about different prescription drugs, and people have their opinions about it. But what I love is that for you, it changed your life. For you, you were open to it. You were open to what it could do for you. And you took that leap and you did it in your mid-30s, which, you know, I mean, again, is maybe older than some people would do it. But for you, you realized you needed that. And that's great.
It's never too late.
And it's never too late.
Never too late.
And it's great for people to hear that, both who are considering it and also just like understanding it more. So I love hearing about that. But what's interesting to me astrologically is the Virgo energy of it all. And I think that coming with the South Node in Virgo, the South Node's all about, again, where you're coming from, the journey that, again, maybe if you believe in past lives, that was like what you believed, you know, that was the journey you were on before, and now you're here. But you're bringing it into the world now. And it's something that you have to work with, you're finding balance with, you're trying to essentially overcome whatever that energy is that's kind of keeping you back and not letting you move to your North Node, you know? So when you're talking about anxiety and different neurological things like OCD but overall just panic and anxiety, that to me is very Virgonian, because I feel like Virgos are a lot of things, but I feel like anxiety is a huge part of what they deal with on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And I felt like in a lot of your songs, there was a lot of other stuff that I want to get to, so I don't want to like hone in on this too much, but there was a lot of songs where I was like, oh my God, that is that Virgo coming back. It's coming out. So the mess up your makeup part. Yeah. Mess up your makeup, the song. Okay.
Yes.
So that song was like, again, I was listening to it quite a few times. I listened to the album like quite a few times, just all in a row. And, you know, the beginning of that song is kind of like, you know, it's like, I want to mess up your, like, it's like sexy, it's bold, it's the Leo, it's the Scorpio, it's like hot, like, yeah, I want to do all this stuff. And then the fact that it's like, that was like your Aries coming out, the Leo, like all this like hot passion and like, oh, I'm not afraid. Like, oh, I'm totally confident. I'm doing all this. But then that ending part where you're talking about, okay. And then you go into like that kind of like old school, like detective thing. That was, first of all, super fun. But then you go into this whole thing. You're like, you know, nothing happened. I didn't want to seem pervy and I didn't want to ruin her night with this unwanted interaction. So I took my leave and went home to watch episodes of The Nanny with my cat. Yeah. And that to me was like, wow, that was such a great depiction of that. First of all, the Leo energy, again, like really confident and being like, oh, I'm going to do all this stuff. But then actually internally, you're like, okay, but actually like, I'm just kind of nervous and awkward and anxious and I don't want to like ruin her night. And maybe I just am going to go home and like be with my cat. That was such a Virgo Leo thing if I ever saw it. I love that so much.
Oh, I mean, that's what's so funny is it's like I think so much of now like it's a lot of things are just making sense. Yeah. But and I always thought it was the Scorpio that was kind of keeping it back, but maybe it's the Virgo being like, no, it's like
well, I think the Scorpio is shy, but I think it's that Virgo, like specifically that line, specifically that part of that song where the way you described it was just like, yep, that is like Virgo on the nose, like being anxious, being like, I don't want to like be inappropriate. I don't want to like do this. Like, I'm going to just like not do anything. I'm just going to go home and be with my cat. And
Yep.
That was so fun. And what I love through the whole album are these little interludes of this like interludes from another era, from another time. And I want to hear about what that was for you. Like why it was almost like you had your present life and what was going on. And then you have this like kind of past vintage time from another era. And I'm curious what that was for you.
I mean, well, so I used to have another like musical artist, like kind of, I guess, you know, pen name, I don't know what you would call it, stage name called Anabot. And the whole like theme was I was this like time traveling robot. And it's interesting because I've just been like obsessed with music of different eras and times and like integrating it with modern styles. And even now, I don't think that that's gone away. But I don't know. I've always felt like a bit of an old soul. Like I would tell my dad, I was like, we would talk about like internal lives and I would say like, oh, you're like 15. And he's like, well, how old do you think you are? And I was like, oh, I'm not too old. I'm like 65. And I was like 12 when I said that. Yeah. So it's like, I've always kind of felt like I've been here before. So I don't know, like maybe that's part of it too. Like there's a familiarity with the past and I'm just trying to kind of live all times at once.
I loved it. And it was really interesting because it was like in these songs, you would have the current feeling of what's going on, whatever that was, disappointment or frustration or upset. But then it's like you brought in this like different time, and it was like such a cool thing to, it was almost like a fantasy thing.
Oh, wait, like, sorry. Can you bring up an example? Maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're talking about.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm trying to think which one specifically brought that up to me, but it was almost like,
because I was like,
there was like the
eras.
reality. Well, there's like the reality of what's really going on in the song, like in the first part, because you would be singing about currently what is going on for you in your head. But then it was almost like, to me, it felt like there was a part of you that was like, kind of like, that is current, that is the present, but then you're connected to the past too. And it's almost like this separation or dichotomy between like present life, what's going on, and the past life of maybe like what you, I don't know if you wish was going on, or if it was more just like digging into the fantasy of another time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of my songs are like working through, and maybe now like we're talking about Virgonian energy, it's like that last part of Mess Up Your Makeup kind of encapsulates a lot of what's happening on this album, of like, I can't say the thing I want to say in my real life.
Yes.
So I'm going to say it in these songs.
Yeah.
Because if I were to say the thing, then everything would be different. And maybe this person wouldn't be in my life anymore.
I get that. And that to me feels very Virgonian, because I feel like Virgos are, I mean, again, like we said, they love structure. They love organization. They love to be in control of things. You know what I mean?
So I'm just sorry. I just have to, I was clearing my throat because I needed water.
And I think it's a tea moment, a fan moment. But I do really feel like that came through to me, where I was like, yeah, like I could hear it. Like, there's the things you want to do, and like, again, maybe this like fantasy of it all, but then there's the reality of how you feel, and you feel kind of like anxious, and you're not able to really say what you want to say, which again is that it's that Leo, Virgo, the Scorpio. It's just, there's a lot of things I feel like kind of not going against each other, but more just like trying to find balance and find harmony between all those different signs, so that you are able to let yourself be out there and also say what you want to say with different people and things like that.
Yeah.
But another song I really love, well, and again, like I was saying, like all these like vintage vibes that were like, you had them in almost every song, which I thought was really cool. Like there was like just little blips of it, like in the first song, you know, when at the, you know, Found Someone I Hate More Than You, you had that kind of like vintage vibe, you know, that voice coming in, and then you had like the little tropical, you know, and that was super fun. So it's like, I really loved how you were able to kind of combine all those things. Now, there was some other things that I saw in the chart that to me really spoke through the songs. And this gets a little bit more personal because it's more about your family.
Okay.
So what I saw was, okay, so first of all, the fourth house is what rules your family. That's family life, that's home life. So you have to look at the sign on the cusp of the fourth house, which for you is Aquarius. That's what is on the cusp of the fourth house. And that can say a lot about what family life was like in general, how you guys function day to day. Aquarius energy is pretty detached. It's not that emotionally invested. It's very intellectual. It's very smart. It's very objective. It's very like, oh, like I can see the, you know, collective energy. I can see the big picture. But in terms of like nurturing, love, caring, all the things that like we want from our parents, sometimes that's not necessarily the vibe of Aquarius. But the other thing that was to me interesting was that, so you've got Venus and Gemini in the 8th house, which is the planet of love. It's the planet of relationships and what you want in relationships. And you have it opposing Saturn, which Venus-Saturn oppositions can talk a lot about like tension, fear, anxiety, disappointment, things like that. And it can... And it can start, the thing is like Saturn also represents the father figure. So, you know, when I was looking at this, I was looking at that Aquarius, you know, 4th house. And then I started looking at the Saturn, you know, opposing Venus. And to me, you know, a lot of your songs, can, they talk about disappointment within relationships. Like, is there anybody here who isn't an asshole? I mean, literally, you're losing faith in the human race because everyone you're coming across are just assholes.
Yeah.
And that was a really interesting song to hear. And then at the end, you start thinking about it. You're like, wait a minute, am I the asshole? Am I the one that's kind of perpetuating this cycle of assholes and things like that? And again, I feel like things with relationships always start at the most basic level with your family and how your family treats you and how your family raised you and things like that. So I guess I was curious with the Venus opposing Saturn, talking about the father relationship, with Venus being conjunct Chiron, which is an asteroid which talks about hurt. And it's like your ego hurt, like it's like deep wounding and hurt, being next to Venus, being about relationships. Obviously, there's a few different aspects that are talking about working through healing in relationships. But I'm curious if there was like a start of that through the family life or what your relationship with your father was like. And was there any hurt or healing that has happened or needed to happen in that?
This is so interesting because I am super close to my dad.
Yeah.
I am so close to my dad. Like,
Yeah.
we're all very emotionally
Open.
connected and open, like
Yeah.
almost too open. Like, we're like, we share everything.
That's amazing.
Like, he's a safe person for me.
Good.
Has always been a safe person for me. Like, and we've had stuff and we've talked through things, but like,
Yeah.
he's always like, anytime I feel nervous to say something, he's like, Annalise, just a reminder, you can always tell me things.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's like even deeper in the past or something generationally, but it's, I
So
mean,
you had a pretty open household, a pretty
Yeah.
nurturing household, a pretty
Yeah.
loving household, things like that.
Yeah, I was an only child and my parents were both very like encouraging and
Well,
loving.
and honestly, sometimes that represents something more within you. Like sometimes we have these things about ourselves that like I think when I was younger, and again, I blame it on the Leo South node in my chart. I had a lot of insecurity about the way I looked or the way whatever. And again, that was nothing based on anything my family did. That was in me. That was a journey I had to work through.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there's things where it's not even anything external. It's just there is this deep, insecurity, feeling like I can't be loved, feeling like I'm not good enough to be loved, feeling like relationships in general are just constantly going to be disappointing, and that might be something that you came into this world with, not based on family interactions or any kind of interactions, but just based on your own chart and your own astrology and your own journey, Hi guys, I just wanted to take a pause outside of the episode to give everyone a little bit of a break from what we're talking about. I know that all this information is a lot to absorb, but I hope you're enjoying it. And if you would like to learn more about astrology or any other information with it, you can go to my website, LiliRoseAstrology.com. Enjoy the episode. It's really interesting with the family stuff, but I do think that like internally having a Venus conjunction with Chiron right there in the 8th house, which is actually the Scorpio house.
Oh.
So you have, again, here's the third Scorpio. We got Scorpio rising. We have Pluto in the 1st. Then we have Venus and Chiron in the 8th, the house of Scorpio. So it's like, here's the third dose.
So I always thought the problem was just Venus and Gemini because I've heard that's the toxiest of toxic placements of all things you could have in Venus is Gemini.
I think it's a really difficult placement because I think that there's a lot of different things you want from a relationship. I think, and that's the thing, that is the theme. It's like you always see a theme in people's charts and stuff. And I think on one hand, there's a lot of things in your chart that shows independence. It shows wanting to do your own thing, be a leader, be the Aries-Moon. Like, I don't need to rely on anyone. I can do my own thing. Venus and Gemini, kind of not a very committal placement.
No, but that's what's so hard is it's like,
but you want the commitment.
Yeah, but this is what is difficult about seeing that placement, especially on paper. It's like when I talk about it with people, is they're like, yeah, okay, sure.
You're like, I swear I'm not like.
No, because I am somebody. I am the slowest of burns.
Yeah.
I need to feel and it's a lot of it's probably the Scorpio. I need to feel very comfortable with somebody. That's why apps do not work for me.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little bit like mating in captivity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like going on a date with somebody if I haven't spent time with them.
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to know if I want to date you if I don't know if I'm attracted to you?
Well,
like, that
yeah.
seems kind of crazy to me. And I'm like, no offense, like a lot of people, I have many friends who've met their spouses that way. And I wish that I was tuned that way. That would save my life if I was tuned that way. But for whatever reason, I'm not. And that's okay. So for me, I'm just a bit of a slow burn, and I connect more on like a very like heartfelt, like intellectual kind of way. Like oftentimes, like if I'm looking at an app, it kind of feels like a catalog. And so I'm not going to know, like somebody who looks attractive on an app may not be attractive in person once they open their mouth.
Right.
And vice versa. Like they may see me and be like, oh, that person looks attractive. And then I open my mouth and they're like, and that's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah.
That's okay. But it's like, and I think the Gemini is more about like feeling like, both feeling safe intellectually and like on a heartfelt level, and like it's all of that.
You need to have an intellectual connection.
Yes.
Because not only is that Venus and Gemini, but then again, the moon being in the 6th house of Virgo is ruled by Mercury too. And it's very intellectual. Your south node being in Virgo is very intellectual. Like you need someone you can connect to on a mental level, a fun back and forth. You need to be able to talk with them. You need to have a fun connection that way. But again, it's so interesting that, again, so many of the songs in the beginning and in the middle, I will talk about the ending, but so many of these songs are talking about like the disappointment and almost like kind of hopelessness of the relationships and not feeling like they're not going to be able to move forward. And again, with all the Chiron there and Venus opposing Saturn right there, it's just all of it to me said like, okay, this is a chart where there is so Saturn is the planet of work, first of all. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of like relating in relationships. And also maybe that's just more about your own confidence, your own ability to feel open and be able to trust and be able to put yourself out there, which I know, again, as we talked about, it's all a balance. But the thing I loved the most about the album was the fact that, okay, so here we are, we're starting, in the beginning, and you're, talking like, okay, I found someone I hate more than you. Like you're talking about like the people you hate. You're talking about, ring pop with like the idea of like romance and the grandioseness of it all and the fantasy. And you're going through like, okay, like, people who are assholes, and you're going through, about that night, which is like very sweet and like romantic. Like I really love that one. But then you get to, so it's like you're going through kind of all the different trials and tribulations of the past and of the relationships. But then we get to Fun But Not Forever. And it was interesting because that was a song where, again, it's near the end of the album. And it's like, I'm seeing this divide between like a part of you with the fun, Aries, the independence, maybe the Gemini, Venus, all this stuff being like, okay, like I can have fun, but it's not going to be something that I can do forever. Because at the end of the day, what I want is like this committed relationship. And what I loved and what felt so natural with the chart was that you're coming from this Virgo place, this Virgo South Node, which is kind of panicky, kind of anxious, kind of like, oh, what was it? It was, in this song, Fun But Not Forever. It's a lie when I say that I'm happy to have fun, but not forever. Wasn't going to call you. You called me, told myself a trillion times I'd do it differently. I'd be perfect and spacious and handle us graciously. But if you knew me, then you'd see it's the gleam. You talk about kind of like how romantic it is. And that to me, I was like, oh my God, here we go. That gracious part, the part where you're like, oh yeah, I'd be perfect and spacious and gracious and all these things. That was like Virgo South Node, like 10 alarm, like go, 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 go. Like that song, I was like, that's insane. But then you talk about like how truthfully it's like the sweetness, the romance, the caring. And then the next song you go into, Make You Breakfast, is also talking about how all you want to do is like be sweet and like nurture someone. And then I look at your North Node and then I'm like, oh my God, she's got a North Node in Pisces in the 4th house, which is the house of Cancer, which is all about taking care of someone. It's all about loving someone. Pisces is all like this open love and devotional love. And that's truly who you are. And you say that at the end of the album with the Make You Breakfast song. And I was like, hot damn, that's insane.
Yeah. The album, I'm very, and this is very, I guess, Virgonian in a sense, but my dad and I, and is it just we're both musicians? Is it that we both are probably neurodivergent in some sense? Maybe it's both. Who knows? We're neither of us have tested in any sense. But when I was younger, he talked to me about like the importance of like album order and like what connotes a first song and what makes a fifth song and and I always think of albums in like acts and so for me, this album tells a story of softening. And so this album starts with hate. This album starts with hate and it ends in love.
And it was almost like, I mean, again, I don't know if you knew that about your chart, but it's almost like you intuitively just kind of, again, you were going through your own journey. You placed the songs in certain places because that was the journey you went through. But then the fact that you ended the album with Fun But Not Forever, which again, you're talking about how like truthfully you are this romantic person and that's who you are. And then Make You Breakfast. The fact that you ended it with that, it was almost like I felt like you went full circle through the journey of the South Node in Virgo, being anxious and careful and worried and, you know, maybe feeling all these things of disappointment, to true devotional love, true caring, true openness of just the highest being, which is so Piscean. And I was like, well done. I was like, well done.
And I didn't even realize.
Didn't even realize it, but you intuited it. And so it made me feel like, you know, I mean, obviously you're going through your own journey, but it made me feel like you have been doing the work to get to that North Node place in Pisces, which again is turning down the volume of the, you know, neurotic mind, the anxious mind, the being worried of what everyone thinks mind. And not that we can be perfect. We can't be perfectly our highest self all the time.
Yeah.
But it's like, I just felt like by doing that and by this song and by all of it, I was like, wow, it really feels like you got it. You got the message.
I mean, it's interesting because when I first learned about what a North Node was, which was probably like 8 years ago, because I always was like jealous of a Pisces. Like I love a Pisces. All the favorite people in my life they're always a Pisces. And so, you know, when I looked at like my base chart of like whatever your top 6 or whatever are, I was like, well, okay, that's fine, I guess. It's like Leo and I don't even have any like, what are they called when you have 3 or more of something?
Yeah, stelliums.
So I didn't have any stelliums, which sound cool. I just have like 2 of this and 2 of that. I don't have
anything cool in my chart.
No, but then when I looked at the whole thing, I was like, wait, I got a North Node in Pisces. What's that mean? Yeah. And then as I hit my Saturn return is when I started realizing that I was non-binary and gender fluid. And I was like, oh, I was a little too on the nose there. You know, come on, like Pisces, North Node. Like I have to learn to be a little more fluid.
Yes,
okay.
Literally.
Okay. A little more open, a little more go with the flow.
It's just this mutable energy that is not here or there or anywhere. It is just beyond. And it is the 12th house. It is the highest. It is the end of the chart. So it really is the most almost like translucent and connected to whatever is beyond us. So the fact that like you went through that journey and discovered, you're like, you know what? I don't really fit. I am my own person. And that doesn't mean I have to fit in any mold. I can be whoever. I can flow. And really the idea of people being binary in this way, or it truthfully doesn't really make sense. I mean, we are just all beings here floating around on this world.
As I mentioned, we're all like kind of knocking into each other, figuring shit out. Like, you know, it's all good.
That to me was like, wow, that was beautiful. And just like, I love that you end the album with that, and Make You Breakfast was just so sweet. And I just love the album. So
thank you so much.
I just was so happy to hear it. And like, honestly, the fact that I hope that you are tapping into that North Node and Pisces in the 4th house even more, and allowing yourself to feel softness and to feel just openness and just connect with people. And that Virgo will be on the back of your neck being like, you're going to mess it up, or, you know, don't say too much because you're going to say something stupid. But the truth is, it's like, honestly, if someone thinks you're stupid or someone hears something that they don't like, it's like they're not the right person to connect with. It's like you're just not on the same vibe.
Right, yeah.
So I just Love it so much. Now, I want to hear about like, where are you performing next? What is coming up for you? I know you're doing more music. You've got a music video coming up. So
yeah. So no performances scheduled as of right now, but you can always check. So my musical moniker is Girlish Figure. You can find me at girlishfigure.mp3 on Instagram or Girlish Figure on TikTok. But I am currently, as of filming this, in the process of making a music video for my upcoming single, which is called Please Her for Pleasure. Ooh. It's giving Bowie. It's giving Prince. It's very sensual. Maybe there are gay werewolves involved and transformation. It's going to have some really fun people, really funny people in it. And it's going to be a blast. It comes out on the full moon, December 5th, 2025.
Oh, so look at you getting in tune with the full moon.
You know what? You lean into it, man. Why am I saying this so much? Who says lean in anymore? Shut up.
You're an inner witch.
I kind of am.
So I think you're just tapping into the inner witchiness.
Why not? I'm dressed in black. Whatever.
I love that. So, okay. So you've got that music video. You got your new song coming out.
Yes.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah. So that'll be, December. Check it out on all streaming platforms.
Okay, what are you performing for us today? I'm so curious.
It's interesting that we just talked about it. I, for the very first time ever, will be performing Make You Breakfast.
Oh, it's so sweet. I can't wait to hear it.
I can't wait to play it.
We're going to hear Make You Breakfast by Girlish Figure.
Make you breakfast. All I wanna do is say you're fine. All I wanna do is clean the messes. All I wanna do is make you mine. All I wanna do is watch the walls peel. All I wanna do is pass the time. All I wanna do is know how you feel. 'Cause all I wanna do is make you mine. Anytime. All I wanna do is place the napkins. All I wanna do is tie your shoes. All I wanna do is fetch the paper. 'Cause you're always my good news. 'Cause you're always my good news. Even when you're in the blues, you're always my good news. All I wanna do is make you breakfast. Hush so you can sleep past 9. All I wanna do is brush your dresses. All I wanna do is make you mine. All I wanna do is pop the pastilles. All I wanna do is kiss the bruise. 'Cause you're always my good news. 'Cause you're always my good news. Even when you're in the blues, you're always my good news. 'Cause you're always my good news. Even when you're in the blues, you're always my good news. 'Cause you're always my good news. Even when you're in the blues, you're always my good news.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. Remember, all of our charts are uploaded to our Instagram, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at AstroLyrical_pod. And we have a YouTube now as well. So make sure to like, subscribe, and tell all your friends, and please comment. We love to hear all your thoughts. This podcast is recorded by John Neisen, produced by Juliana Hartman and Danielle Marascalchi, and hosted by me, Liana Bassior. Thanks and goodbye.